Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to our kickoff Zoom meeting for the 2023 Outstanding Project of the Year competition. Contrary to the name on my picture, I'm not Terry Kastner. I'm Pete Burns, and Tina is also here co-hosting. Tina Freeman's here co-hosting with me this morning. And we'd again like to welcome you all and thank you for coming. We're going to move through the presentation, and we can have I'll go through the agenda real quick here, and we'll just see what we're going to talk about. So the agenda for this morning, we'll talk about the schedule for the competition this year. We'll go through the rules, a couple of little rule changes. We'll have a section dealing with our program called Submittable, the online submission program. We'll talk about working with photographs. We are gonna, and then we'll finish up with a question and answer at the very end. So key dates and deadlines this year, and this is going to be a change from prior competitions. This year, competitions open up. If I'm not mistaken, is that tomorrow? September 1st, nominations will open. We'll flip the switch on submittables, and you can start submitting your nominations. The nominations are going to close November 15th, and that is a change from past years. We are trying to compress things a little bit to hopefully do some special things at the back end. This will give us more time to do some things at the back end rather than hurrying through things like we normally do. The actual award presentation happens at our annual conference this year, May 4th through 6th, and it's going to be at beautiful Huntington Beach, California. So we hope everyone can make it to that for the presentation ceremony. The award categories haven't changed from last year. We have an interior category with subdivisions of projects over 1 million, projects under 1 million. We've got an exterior category for residential and commercial. We've got a suspended ceiling category. We've got light gauge steel framing, again, projects over 1 million, projects under 1 million. We've got a renovation category. And we've got kind of a historic restoration category for the old school lath and plasterers. We've got a stucco and EIFS category to round it out. Obviously, the Project of the Year Awards is a way that NWCB recognizes excellence in our industry by presenting awards to the best projects completed by our members. The projects are judged on design, job site innovation and or conditions. Some of those conditions, as folks I work with know, I get all excited about these crazy conditions that you folks have to work on. Get the bucket or get a mop. And then our friends in the colder regions have to deal with some pretty crazy stuff sometime. So those can certainly complicate our projects. Quality of workmanship, use of materials, and overall effect. So that's what the judges are going to be. Those are kind of the guidelines for how these awards are presented. The rules, I'll go through these fairly quickly. NWCB members can nominate any number of projects. The installing wall and ceiling contractor must be a member of NWCB. Again, projects, we went through what they're judged on. The project must be complete. Projects completed in the past 2 years can be submitted or resubmitted if they have not previously been given an NWC Project of the Year award. Awards will be given to projects in Washington and Oregon and are awarded based on the office location of the NWC member contractors that perform the work. Member contractors are only eligible to win 2 awards per company per area. This is a new rule. NWCB members may submit an individual project for multiple categories, but the project is only eligible to win one award. All nominations must be made through submittables. Nomination forms must be filled out completely for each individual project. Nominations received by any other method will not be considered. Photos taken during construction are encouraged for all submissions and are required for submissions in like H steel framing, renovation, and restoration categories. Photos submitted must be a minimum of 3,000 by 2,400 pixels in size. This is also a new twist. All nominations must provide an image designated as an award plaque photo with a minimum size of 3,450 by 4,350 pixels. And at some point, Tina might be able to hold up one of the actual award plaques. Tina, you can do that later on, or can you?
I can do it right now.
Okay.
Picture your project here.
And this is really the reason for that that kind of extra bump in pixel size, is to be able to really have some special awards for you to hang on your walls in your offices. They really are beautiful. So that and that has been a challenge in the past. That's one of the reasons why we've kind of made it included in the rules. Number 10, submissions of material grants permissions for unrestricted promotion use by NWCB, all photographs and information in printed and digital formats. This includes, but is not limited to, award program publicity and publication in association industry and other publications and websites. Make sure that you have proper licenses for the photos you are submitting. Deadline for submission of nominations is Tuesday, November 15th. Working with submittable. So I've seen some new names here that so not everybody may be familiar with the submittable software, but it really has been, I think it's been much easier to work with for people submitting, and certainly from our end in putting these all together. And Tina, you jump in at any point in time, but we're just going to show you some of these screens so you can get a feel for it and how this thing kind of plays out. Anywhere you see a red asterisk, you're going to have, that's going to be a required field. So number one, you got to name the project. Are you nominating for your company or another company? Sometimes we have distributors or manufacturers that are members nominating another company. So we have that option, and you'll put in the project address and state. The project name is something up in the upper right-hand corner. Submittables has a feature that allows you to name, I think more than one if you need, collaborators for completing the submission. The person initiating the submission is going to have ultimate control over the submission, and that person alone will have the ability to save or submit that nomination at the very end of the last page of the form. And submitting kind of locks you in there with an exception that if you submit it and you close it down and you have to get in touch with us. We can reopen it. It's not at the end of the world. But this collaboration process is very useful, especially if somebody else has the high resolution pictures on their computer, and rather than emailing them and compressing the size of the photos, you can let that collaborator upload the photos in their full resolution. So that can come into play. So basically you're just gonna, if you click on manage collaborators, boom, you get a field that says invite collaborators, and they'll get an email allowing them into the program. The award categories you'll select, I've highlighted some of these so that you can, we just tick them off and away you go. So we've got category, and for interior, there's an option for over $1 million, under $1 million. Select the contractor category. Are you from Washington or Oregon, or are you one of our remote contractors? If you're from Washington, I'm showing an example. What happens is a drop-down menu appears and you select it. It's very easy. You don't have to type it all in, and it works beautifully. If you are a remote contractor, again, same thing. You're going to hit the button, drops down. We get our remote contractors in. We'll ask for contractor name. We are asking for project architect firm. And if you have the additional information like a contact or a phone number, put it in. Please put it in. That'll help us. But we may contact you. I know that's at the end of the year when we're trying to put everything together. We tend to make a lot of calls trying to get some of this information. This year, project architect firm is going to be required. And then we've got the very bottom. We've got manufacturers, same system with, I'm sorry, I got to hit myself. Manufacturers, same system with a drop-down menu. You'll select your manufacturers. I guess if you needed to add someone, if we don't have anybody in there, give us a call. I don't know how quickly we can amend the form, Tina, but it shouldn't be that tricky if we need to add people, right?
Can I insert something right here?
Absolutely.
So we only list and acknowledge member manufacturers and dealers. So if someone is not on the list, the reason is probably because they are not a member. So you should know that. And then when you're submitting names, for example, architects or your project, please make sure that you're spelling them correctly. It's really hard for us to verify is the spelling of every name. So just be real careful with names so that we can get those correct.
Very good. And then suppliers, same thing. These are our drop-down list of suppliers. And at the very bottom, the trade unions are also listed in a drop-down. Then we get to kind of the meat of the submissions. And there will be 3 boxes that'll let you briefly enter in information about, tell us about the building, why is it unique, what special challenges were present and how were they overcome. Or some people, and a lot of people choose this option, where they upload a project description that covers these questions and actually answers the questions in a project description. And one of the things that I've noticed in the past several cycles of Project of the Year is that people are getting very, very professional about the submissions and about how they're actually presenting in a PDF document a presentation, if you will, of the award. It's not just a Word file going in. People are really going at it, and it's getting very, very competitive. It's wonderful. Judges love it. It really, your job on this, unfortunately, is not just, you did the hard work, but now we're asking you to kind of sell it a little bit by giving us good, solid product descriptions. And probably the most important part is project photos. Project photos tell the story. Every picture tells a story. And these are the visuals that you present the judges to are going to really, really help. Just no coincidence that projects that are well documented and can tell a story from start to finish with construction really have a leg up on the competition. So you're going to put in your project photos. We'll talk a little bit more about the actual files. Tina will talk about that in a little bit. But getting through this slide, so then there you will have your award plaque image that also is going to be a required project videos. The project videos, again, the judges love them, but in the past 2 years, we have had what's happened with the award ceremony is we've had to compress that presentation. The actual presentation has of the awards has gotten longer and longer and longer, and we've gotten a lot of feedback that it actually started becoming too long. And unfortunately, project videos became somewhat of a casualty of that. They're great to have. Like I said, the judges will get to see them, but unfortunately at this point, we have not in this year. I don't know if we did them. Well, we did last 2 years with COVID, we did, because we didn't do it live. But we have not been able to keep things brief and make that awards presentation real snappy and professional. We've had to cut those out. So apologies there, but they're great to have for the judging part of the competition. Let's see, did I miss anything? And then finally, and then at the very bottom, you'll see you agree to the terms, and you are either going to save this as a draft that'll allow you and your collaborators to return to this and start another nomination, or you're going to submit. And again, if you happen to hit the wrong button and you submit, it will get you back in. Okay, not to worry on that. Let's see. So this is just an extra one. Photos taken during concerted courage for all submissions and are required for like ACL framing, and those are the pixel sizes. Nominations, yeah, I've covered that. Okay, photos. Again, these are what get the judge's attention. You're going to need high quality, high resolution. Tina, I'm walking on your stuff. Go.
Oh, okay. So I would just add that everyone here on this call will be getting an email tomorrow regarding submitting on submittable.com. If you're new to Submittable, you will be asked to create an account, but it's a super easy, quick process. And then you can return to submittable.com with your account credentials over and over. And in the future, you don't have to recreate the account. And those who submitted on it last year, you should be ready to go. And as Peter mentioned, I believe that, remember, you have to finish your first submission before you can start a new one. You can save it and come back to it, but until that first one is finished, you cannot start a new one. So keep that in mind. And so let's talk about the photos a little bit. They are super important. That's what the judges see first, and that's what we give out to publications and websites and different communications as the images of the winner. So they're super important. We need not only high resolution images, but high quality photos. And a high resolution image doesn't always equal a high quality photo. Over the years, I think we've seen it all. We have seen pictures, taken with pocket cameras. Sometimes I suspect out of moving cars. Sometimes there's undesirable things in the photo, like, for example, who would want an award plaque with porta potties in front of the building? So kind of like pay attention to the content of the photo and the composition of the photo. And the resolution is super important. So we'll talk about that a little bit in just a little bit. But we really recommend using professional images, using a professional photographer, because then you will get the resolution that you need, and you also get a quality picture that is, the exposure is correct, it's sharp, it's in focus, and the composition of the picture is good. So it is highly encouraged. So you might wonder, so where do I get these high resolution photos? You may not always have to hire your own photographer. You could call the general contractor. They might already have photos taken by a by a photographer, or sometimes the architecture firm has those. So it pays off to make a few calls and see if they already exist. But if they don't, then you might want to consider hiring a photographer. We have a little list of photographers that we can give you. They're good architectural photographers. We have their phone numbers if you need to contact someone. And it would be really good for you to have those photos for yourself, because you can use them for marketing purposes too. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone. So then you might wonder, how do you know what the resolution of your image is? So that's a super quick little investigation. So you find your photo on your computer, and if you right click on the file and look at the properties, it will tell you the pixel dimensions. Every digital picture is made of little pixels. They're little squares that are filled with a color. And when you have a high resolution image, you have a ton of those little pixels, and your eye will see a crisp, clear image because they're so smooth and so small that your eye just, it blends into a beautiful picture. But if you don't have enough pixels and pixels, and we have to stretch the picture big enough for this 10 by 14 plaque that I showed you, then the individual pixels get enlarged, and they become so big that your image is no longer smooth. You'll see the individual pixels, and you really don't want a winning plaque like that. So make sure that you get enough pixels. We have the specific number, so it's really easy to check that your images are good enough for that. Now, sometimes you might start out with that high resolution image from a photographer or whoever sends it to you. But there are ways when sometimes an image gets robbed big pixels, that extra pixels get dumped and it becomes a low resolution image, although it wasn't originally. This might happen if someone is emailing you a picture. a lot of times the email program will say, hey, would you like me to make this picture smaller? So it's, so you can email it, and it might downgrade your picture. Or if you upload it to Google Photos and share it that way, that will downgrade your picture. And then once those pixels are gone, we can't get them back unless we get the original image from the photographer. Usually those are high resolution. So to transfer images between people, you would want to consider things like Dropbox or some type of high resolution or big image or file transfer service. Hightail is one of them. Or just simply invite someone to collaborate with you on your submission and have them upload that image directly. Then nobody has to deal with that big image in their email or Dropbox. So just use submittable.com. It's so easy. And as Peter mentioned, it's super important to have proper license. So the photographer has to be aware that you're giving that picture to us, because once you give it to us, then we will be using it for publicity for you. So it's super important that there's proper license to use it. Also, we will need all the pictures with the nomination, with the original nomination. You cannot, unfortunately, wait and see if you might be a winner and then provide the professional pictures. The judges will need those pictures, and we need to know that we have them should you be chosen for an award. And all the photos need to go into submittable.com with the photographer's name. That way that name stays with that image and we always know who to give credit to, so that we're not violating any copyright regulations. So basically the photos are super important. Let us know if you need to get referrals to photographers. We would be happy to help with that. And just, email us or call us with any questions.
Sounds
And
good. Go ahead, Tina. Go
and
ahead.
I have one additional thing. If you are submitting an interior steel framing, acoustical ceiling project, we would encourage you to include one photo of the completed exterior of the building, so that we can potentially use that picture in a presentation where we can orient the viewers to the building and tell them, this is what the building's about, and then we zoom into your work. So I would just like to add that to this list.
Very good. So let's we can open it up to Q&A if people have any questions. Did anyone submit anything? Let's see. Okay. Just unmute yourself and jump in if you've got a question.
I don't see anything in chat.
Oh, here we go.
Hope.
Someone's coming in.
Yes.
Eric, is it?
Hey, Peter, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Hey, real quick question. I noticed you said that the projects can be up to 2 years old, completed within the last 2 years, and they're eligible as long as they have not won an award. My question is, if a project has won an award for, say, light gauge framing, does that preclude me from submitting it this year for acoustical ceilings?
Our rules state that the same project cannot receive multiple awards.
Oh, fair enough.
I believe that our interpretation of that situation is that you wouldn't be able to.
Would not be able to. Understood.
Good question.
Yeah, that rule change tightened that up a little bit, and it actually helped avoid a pretty a problem that might have occurred if we had a project. Let's say you have a project that wins 2 awards, awarded wins in 2 different categories, and we get to the People's Choice portion of the competition. That incredible project could have its support diluted over the 2 awards and end up not getting any awards or not getting the People's Choice. So it hasn't happened, but we kind of dodged a bullet on that. So this year we're tightening up on that, and we think the whole idea is to spread the awards. The more the merrier with the awards, right?
Correct.
Any other questions?
So we have a question in the chat. If there is a non-disclosure agreement on the project, I assume we could get around that by not using the specific owner's name. And I think I can confirm that, because in the past we have had, for example, residences where we just say a Mercer Island residence or Bellevue residence. So if this answers your question, I think we can confirm that. Now we have to call the project something. So what do you have any comments on that, Peter?
I'm sorry, Tina, I wasn't tracking that on the non-disclosure. If there's an NDA on the project, get around that by not using a specific owner's name. Ooh, boy.
So maybe Megan, are you able to get on the mic?
Right.
Maybe we can
Tricky.
talk about your question a little bit.
I'd be leery of that. We've had some real high profile projects where people are saying absolutely no photography, and right?
Yeah, so hi, this is Megan. I'm going to check with the ownership or the general contractor owner and see if they're okay with us nominating it. But we did sign an NDA, so I just wanted to know before I even attempted that it wouldn't be a problem. I assume we would say a tech company, or like she mentioned, homeowner in Mercer Island or something along those lines.
Yeah, it gets a little tricky, especially if it's a business. I can see like protecting like a family. We don't want people flocking and, you know, maybe necessarily disturbing residents over home. But we do need to call the project something. And if we have 18 projects and they all say a tech company or a hotel or a school, I mean, we kind of need to have some information on the project. So it's a really good idea to ask the owner of the project.
Yeah, I believe we'd be able to use the project name, just not who the project was built for potentially, but I'll ask the question.
So what if we should have a form? Yeah, so you'd have a form that you would get the owner to sign, giving a release, some type of a release from the owner?
I don't know yet. I'll have to ask that question. I just didn't know if it was a problem with you guys first.
So Megan and everyone else too, I will be sending out in the next couple of days a link to our award ceremony video from the conference. So you can always give the owner a link to that presentation and see this is how they're presented. You can also give them links to, for example, the Daily Journal of Commerce coverage online. If you go and Google NWCB Outstanding Project of the Year 2022, you would get the link to the digital publication of what the Daily Journal put out. So it's good to give them some examples of how the images and the information get used once they're part of this program.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, addresses usually aren't, I mean, they don't contain addresses. It'll just be city, I think, is all that ever shows up in those documents. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Going once.
Going twice. Well, you can always call us or email us. We're so glad that you're wanting to be proactive about the nominations and be ready. We appreciate that. And we're glad that you are just as excited as we are about the new year and the new nominations.
Yep. Last year we had about 60 nominations, and let's beat it again this year. Thanks everyone for coming. And again, any questions, just give us a shout. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.